Hello my friend, welcome back. So in today's video I'm going to be doing just a little bit of cleaning. I had to clean up my kitchen and my dining room in order to get it ready to cook dinner and have dinner at the table. So I needed to get those chores taken care of before I cooked.
And you're kinda simple, but like a pistol, you fire. Sometimes you get under my skin like a lover, and sometimes you don't wanna come back cause you'd rather stay out with another. Talking to strangers and make out spontaneously. Now I'm so tired of hearing all your stories about the drunk nights, bragging in the glory. You're such a nice guy when you're not just talking about yourself and the way of how you dwell. I get it. Oh, I'm so tired of hearing all your stories about your rich friends traveling Mercedes. You're such a nice guy when you're not just talking about yourself and the way of how you dwell. Don't you get it? You do it right.
Since my kitchen and dining room are just about picked up, I'm going to go ahead and start on dinner. So for dinner this night, we had steaks on the grill, which we're thawing at the moment. And then I'm also going to do homemade mashed potatoes, but I'm going to be making them in bulk and freezing some. That way in the future when we want some, we have some in the freezer. And then I'm also going to be doing canned corn. So what I'm doing right now is just peeling the russet potatoes. I get these russet potatoes at Aldi, so you can definitely find all those ingredients there if you shop at Aldi like I do. But the thing that takes the most time when making homemade mashed potatoes is definitely peeling all of them. Now, if you weren't making them in bulk, you wouldn't have to peel this many potatoes.
You're such a nice guy when you're not just talking about yourself and the way of how you dwell. I get it. Now I'm so tired of hearing all your stories about your rich friends traveling Mercedes. You're such a nice guy when you're not just talking about yourself and the way of how you dwell. I get it. Don't you get it? Now I'm so tired of hearing all your stories about your rich friends traveling Mercedes. You're such a nice guy when you're not just talking about yourself and the way of how you dwell. I get it. Don't you get it? No.
I am pre-peeling my potatoes because I'm about to head out to the gym here in just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is prep the potatoes. That way whenever I get home from the gym, I can just chop them up and throw them in the pot to start boiling them. So that is what I like to do if I'm in a time crunch like I am today. I prep the potatoes first before I make my homemade mashed potatoes. Now, if I was just doing a small batch of them, I wouldn't have to prep them, but because I'm making them in bulk and freezing them, it'll take a little bit longer to make them, but it is totally worth it because then I don't have to make homemade mashed potatoes every time we want to have mashed potatoes with dinner. So I usually just like to make it once and essentially get it over with, and then all I have to do is just pull some out of the freezer and thaw them for whenever we want mashed potatoes. So typically what I do to prep my potatoes is I will first peel them and then I wash them. I know some people wash them first and then peel them. I just prefer to wash them after they're peeled because you have to re-wash them anyway after you peel them. So I figure just eliminate a step. That might not be the correct way to do it, but that's just the way that I have always done it. So, and that's the way I have learned to do it. With that being said, I'm going to finish up peeling the rest of these potatoes because I have a little less than half a bag left to peel. And then I'm going to cover these potatoes with water and put them in my refrigerator. They stay best prepped in water afterwards. And then I'm just gonna put them in my refrigerator until I get home from the gym in like an hour or so. Now that the entire 10-pound bag of russet potatoes are peeled, I'm going to just take them one by one and run them under the water just to rinse them off and wash them. Like I said, I like to wash my russet potatoes after I'm done peeling them. It's just how I've always done it, but I'm going to take one by one, rinse them off and put them in the clean bowl, and then fill the bowls up with water and put them in my refrigerator. It is now a couple hours later and I am ready to finish up dinner because I'm starving at this point and I'm in a little bit of a rush. So what you do now is you just chop up your russet potatoes. The pieces don't have to be perfectly shaped because you're just going to boil them and mash them. But what I like to do is try to keep the pieces around the same size, that way they cook evenly. So I actually did this step incorrectly. Normally what I do is I put the potatoes in the pot and then cover them with water and then put them on the stove and let them boil. So because I was in a hurry, I totally forgot, and I went ahead and filled up my pots with water, and then you'll see me having to take some water out because there's too much water in the pot because the potatoes sink. So just word of advice, put the potatoes in the pot and then cover them with water just enough to where they're covered. That way you don't put too much water in your pot. The way that I check to see if the russet potatoes are almost soft enough to mash up, I just get a fork and stab it and see if it falls apart easily, and if it doesn't, that means it needs more time, and at this point they did need more time. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but this is how I've always done it. I just try a couple different pieces to make sure they're soft, but for this recipe you're going to need heavy whipping cream, some sweet cream butter, make sure it's salted, and then you're also going to need some salt and pepper. When your russet potatoes are nice and soft, you're just going to strain them with your colander and set them aside. So for this part, I wish I had like actual measurements to share with you. That way you could make them exactly how I do. But I measure by taste. So I know that we like our mashed potatoes creamy, buttery, and with pepper. So what I do is I throw some russet potatoes into my mixer with butter, and then as it mixes, I add the other ingredients. And then once in a while, I will taste it with a clean spoon, of course, and see if I can taste each of the ingredients. Now, for a full 10-pound bag of russet potatoes, I ended up using the entire carton of the heavy whipping cream and about 2.5 sticks of butter. That sounds like a lot, but there's also a lot of potato to flavor. And then I'm not really exactly sure how much salt and pepper, but I feel like salt is definitely based on preference because the butter is salted, and then the pepper, I put pepper in it to the point where I can see the pepper in the mashed potatoes, if that helps you out. But definitely the pepper adds a lot of flavor. So if you like your mashed potatoes flavorful like we do, don't be afraid to add the pepper. To make sure that the potatoes are evenly mixed periodically, I'll stop the mixer and take my spatula and just scrape the outsides of the bowl. So this is definitely a process of adding more potatoes, adding more butter, adding more salt, and adding more pepper and heavy whipping cream, because as you add more potatoes to the bowl, you have to add more of the ingredients. So it looks like I'm putting a lot, but I'm also adding more of the potatoes, if that makes sense. At this point, this batch of mashed potatoes is just about done. It needed a little bit more butter because my camera died and I added more potatoes into this batch. But once these are mixed in and the potatoes are smooth for the most part, we don't really care if they're lumpy or not. We just want them to be more flavorful than not. So I took those out, put those in a separate container to cool down before I stored them away, and I'm just going to put the rest of my russet potatoes into my bowl and just repeat the process all over again. Every time I make these homemade mashed potatoes, I always make a huge mess. So if you're not making a mess, whether you're using a mixer or hand mixer, or if you're mashing them manually with a smasher, you're not doing it right, because I cannot make these mashed potatoes and have a clean kitchen at the same time. So now that they are done, I went ahead and covered them and set them aside to let them cool. This was actually after dinner. We had these homemade mashed potatoes fresh and they were delicious. So I'm really excited for you guys to try this recipe and let me know how you liked it if you do try it. But I'm going to clean up the kitchen and wipe down my countertops after making a huge mess making these potatoes.
And that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, 'cause we both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much as this does. We had a good run, don't say we didn't. I was your first love and you were my first one. Cheers to all the memories.
Now that my kitchen is cleaned up, I am ready to start packing these mashed potatoes away for the freezer. So what I do is I just take 3 heaping scoops per bag. I like to store these in individual meals. That way I can just pull one out of the freezer, let it thaw, and we are good for dinner. I do 3 scoops because I have a family of 4 and that is enough for us per meal. This all depends on your family size, but I have 2 small children and then me and my husband, so 3 heaping scoops is plenty for us.
We both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much as this does. So baby, bye. It's for the best, and you know why. You gotta leave me here tonight before we make this even worse. It's gonna hurt even more than this does. We gave it up, we had its time to say bye, baby, bye. I'll be, you'll be, yeah, we'll be fine. So let's call it a night, and that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry.
When all of the mashed potatoes are evenly divided between the bags, I sort of zip the bag closed all the way to the corner and I flatten out the bag. That way whenever I freeze them, they freeze flat and then I can store them flat and they don't take up a whole lot of room in my freezer. I have also noticed after doing this a few times that if you freeze them flat, they will thaw a lot faster whenever you need them for dinner. Be sure to label your bag with the month and year that you made these, and then you're going to label them. I'm going to finish labeling my bags and put these in the freezer, but thank you so much for watching. If you are new, please subscribe, and if you're coming back, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in my next one.